Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Happy November 4th. Happy full moon. It's a full moon time. So let us finish up Turning Within. We're reading this book. It's Reclaiming Your Soul from Shadow. It's a good book on how to recognize your shadows, how to bring light back into your life through shadow work. I've been practicing shadow work for the past 4 years, energy healing, Reiki, and this book is fantastic for understanding more about shadow work. Okay, and let us finish chapter 8 because I was interrupted yesterday, and then we're going to go into chapter 9. Chapter 9 seems short. So we left off at shadow work never ends. A statement I emphasize with everyone before we begin any shadow work is about how things once learned can't be unlearned. With shadow work, the statement, life will never be the same, is required understanding. One of these reasons for this is that once you become aware of shadow driving your behavior and experience, it then becomes your responsibility to keep that awareness, monitoring when it appears again. There is a lie in our current zeitgeist which suggests work gets done and doesn't come up again, like you take a pill and it all goes away. That is a lie. It sells books, it signs contracts, but nonetheless, it's a lie. The truth is more complicated and much more interesting. You learn to keep your shadow out in front of you. Therefore, when they appear, you are aware of them. Shadow work is never done. It's either doing or not doing, but it's never done. Each shadow will lead you to an eventual next layer of the onion. You peel back a layer to expose a new layer, a deeper understanding of yourself. Each layer offers up another gift of waiting to be unwrapped. By developing a practice, you witness meaning deeper than solution-based, suffering-rooted programming. You see how you're a part of a larger story being told through you. As you step into your authenticity, your genius emerges through you. The boat called now grows, changes, and becomes less important. The aha moments you earn through diving into the deep conscious are nothing without integration, which can take a lifetime. Augmented Armageddon in your life. Over the past couple of years, an interesting form of entertainment has happened across America: axe throwing. My wife and I enjoyed a date night at a bar serving alcohol while simultaneously giving us big axes to throw at a target on the wall. Axe throwing and alcohol. Axe throwing and alcohol. Yes, it's a thing. Mind you, I don't drink, neither do I. If I did, someone would undoubtedly been harmed that night. My wife and I spent several hours enjoying this new spot, or this newfound sport. There was something about it that put me in another than normal state, a Zen state of thinking but not thinking. This state unlocked an awareness within me and taught me much about how the mind constructs reality and anticipates pain. The throwing area was sectioned off by a chain link fences, creating throwing lines. The thrower stands behind the lines and tries to hit the bullseye's target. I noticed right away the worn, torn spots of the floor from people readily and taking their aim. By standing in that sweet spot, I was at the proper distance for the axe to hit the target in the right place and stick the landing. There was a spot that was more worn for the right handed people and less worn for the left handed people. Both types of throwers considered the distance it took for the axe to spin so it can stick. I began to wonder if we operate out of survival rooted programming and the mind is patterns and stories, could I track shadow by noticing the worn spots in my experience? This analogy initiated several layers of awareness. I began to see the monsters chasing me as the target I carry into every relationship. I saw how my mind masterfully constructed worst case scenarios based on specific spatial relationships generated by a feeling of impending doom. My mind practiced throwing a metaphorical axe at the target. This was the first time I caught a glimpse of my own personal Armageddon. Armageddon, the place where the final battle will be fought between the forces of good and evil. Revelation 16:16. It's the last and completely destructive battle. For a moment, think of the area of your life causing you the most grief and suffering. Maybe it's a financial worry, or perhaps it's a relationship challenge. Whatever it is, think of a moment taking up much of your thought. Review all the scenarios you run around the issue. Do you imagine someone leaving you? Do you imagine being broke or desolate? What WCS worst case scenarios do you run when these thoughts have a strong grip on you? For a moment, investigate the type of danger. Notice, how does it feel? It feels like, for me, it feels like my stomach starts to drop or my heart starts to flutter. Notice where the feeling resides. I feel this in, or my gut, or in my identify a part of your body. That's a little homework there in the book. These are good prompting questions to keep in your back pocket just in case you find yourself in shadow and you need to figure out where it's coming from. So identifying, how does it feel and where does it reside? Notice what the themes is of the associated risk. How does it impact you? Notice how far the worst case scenario is from you. How impending is it? How many moves can you make to avoid the worst case scenario before it materializes? Notice how much control you feel the worst case scenario has over you. Take this awareness and look at other areas of struggle in your life. Look for how this experience of impending doom, similar to the other relationships found, find the worn spot where you stand and throw your mental axe. See where your mind has worn thin the floor of your experience. We are all well, we are all being chased by some existential dread. Our saber-toothed tiger, if you will. Our internal system, hijacked for survival, projects this monster into our augmented reality through which we experience our reality. What if you were wearing glasses and then forgot you were seeing through them? These glasses offer you an augmented view of the world. If you didn't know you were wearing them, you wouldn't know the difference. between what you saw and the data provided in the overlay created from your meaning. Now, imagine this information is compromised when you were oblivious to the ambiguous impact of the glasses. You become a victim incapable of having a real relationship with anything that triggered a similar to the monster chasing you. When that happens, your mind will make pink red. Your mind finds connections where chaos exists. That's its primary purpose. We all have a personal Armageddon we are set on avoiding, and this is coupled with our certainty the moment will come. Yet your mind has stopped asking if, but when, how it will show. You then set up your target based on previous struggles programmed before you knew what programming was. As a result, you experience impending doom after impending doom, attaching to your life like a Velcro target. Noticing that you carry these targets with you at all times may derail you at first. However, this feeling transmutes into power when you realize your ability to see the root of your suffering. Then you begin the process of recoding your glasses, thereby transmute your very experience of reality. And remember, this book isn't meant to be read, it's meant to be experienced. That is the conclusion of chapter 8, Catching My Monkey Mind. We're going to begin chapter 9, Wandering Around Process. This is one of my favorite books that I want to share with the universe. Has a lot of good riddles in here, a lot of good question prompts. There's also a shadow process in the book that we'll get to in the later chapters. And I'm hoping to hold a discussion with that. If anybody would like to have a shadow process with me, I'm open to that. Okay, chapter 9, Wandering Around Process. Your mind flows like water. Your mind flows and takes up the shape of water of whatever container it finds itself in. This is why reading a great book can feel as though you are transported to another world. It's why you lose track of time when watching a movie or daydreaming. Because when your mind is fluid like, it takes on the shape of the space where it's placed. Your mind is constantly running best guess scenarios to decipher what is happening and what will happen next. Problem-focused thinking will lead to problem-focused experience. We need to consider these moments sacred. These are moments when you will be most vulnerable. It's as if a lesson was waiting for you to learn through the experience, like your shadow was calling to you to look in the most tender places of your existence. The lessons can be quite profound for both of you, the seeker and those holding space around you when participating in an integration session. Parts of your turning within practice. Your journey may include a mental cleanse process. Here, seekers have attested to finally being able to address cycles of suffering that may have taken years to manifest. Slowly cultivating shadow, normally elusive, can present themselves in a long form process. This process is designed to create a safe container for the mind to flow into. By learning a new process to navigate the mind differently, change is possible. Insights is always the first step. Shadow work process can be long, short, private, or in a group. Processes may be face to face, remote, standalone, or build one on top of another, like this book. A practitioner learns to trust the process and deepen it, depend on it to bring them to the light. The faith in shadow work produces a supernatural like effect on your ability to step through the fear of the story you are projecting. The results cannot be overlooked. Wandering around the process. Not all who wander are lost. It's an old saying I enjoy. Not all who wander are lost. It originates from the J.R.R. Tolkien. All this gold, all that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. From the ashes a fire shall be awoken, a light from the shadows shall spring. Renew shall be blade that was broken. The crownless again shall be king. J.R.R. Tolkien, The Fellowship of the Ring. As I deepen my personal practice, I notice the depth of the truth of this adage more and more. The external value of wandering enhanced even further when turning within. To wander internally is to move around in your mind, looking at your reality through different positions and seeing things from different perspectives. By activating your feeling of wonder, you activate higher levels of functioning, which in turn moves you beyond survival rooted programming. Wondering leads to wandering. The better you get at wandering around, the easier your ability will be to deal with your heavier lifting on the back end. By leveraging the power of wonder, you activate inherent genius within you. You begin to gain authority over your story. The goal of this process is to practice taking on different perspectives to wonder what else could something mean. We use wonder what else could this mean as our second week mantra in the mental cleanse process. There, seekers learn to leverage the deeper structure within more open mind as a result of a feeling of wonder. In A Course of Miracles, one of the first steps in creating a miracle is opening space for a miracle to enter your life. A person can experience anything countering what they're already true. If your current perspective is causing you suffering, maybe it's the perspective that could use some shifting. The only way to know is to lean in. About 6 years ago, I began scheduling 10:30 a.m. every Saturday to sit and wander. The baseline of this book came from that time slot. Consistently gives the mind an understanding of how you want it to flow. Your mind will take the shape of anything, whether you consciously or unconsciously place it there. Have you ever noticed how certain places or events trigger you? That trigger is confirmation that you can be programmed. Come back to this wonder exercise again and again. The more you are able to shift your perspective, the less you are a victim of your past. What day and time can you schedule to allow your mind to learn to wander? Make it a time and a place with the sole purpose of wandering around. Do nothing else. Your mind will deepen your ability to expand into deeper levels of genius. What if you could completely change your life by understanding owning, and rewriting the coding you have lived out of. How much time do you spend focused on survival rooted scenarios? Scenarios in your mind that are rooted in attack thoughts, awfulizing, and negative bias. What would your life be like without worrying about survival in your internal and external relationships with people, places, and things? How would you show up differently? Spend some time wondering how it could feel to cultivate this part of you. Pretend you are already this person. Now look at the present. If you started from your higher self and work back to now, what would you feel like if you were that person in the present? How would you move through the world if you were already the person you imagined, but hadn't gone through the process of becoming that you yet? Your mind as software. Consider your brain is like a computer hardware in an advanced vehicle, and your mind is like a software running the whole system. What you experience as conscious thought is only your interface. I should note your goal is to realize you are neither the vehicle or the operating system, but the driver. Think about when you wake up in the morning and boot up your computer. The first to load is the BIOS. For human beings, this would be the DNA level programming passed down from generation to generation. 3.5 million years of packed down deep mind meaning defining every facet of you, down to your physical appearance. Next, something comparable to the operating system called the mind comes online. This would be language itself, the baseline meaning of the structure of meaning itself. Next, the mind checks the physical symptoms and comes up your interface. Make meaning, make it elegant, and continually evolve. All the active programs are moments and collaborations of meaning, all connected over the tapestries of lifetimes. The stories you make up are like software. Some of them are loaded on startup, as with computer virus protection. Your risk manager loads and continuously runs scenarios to be on the lookout for dangerous or painful circumstances. Some of your mind's constructs exist like programs stored on a hard drive waiting to be retrieved. Your every experience have coded, filed, and stored as a point of reference in the hologram of the greater construct of your mind. Many of these constructs remain frozen at the perspective of the moment they are created. Just like the desktop interface on your computer, your mind is an interface with reality. The computer's interface is not built to show you the workings of the computer. It's built to take advantage of them, much like the mind, which isn't there to show you reality. It's constructed to define, design, navigate, and survive it. It is ever present, never blinking eye of consciousness shining into the world, into the void. Willing, fourth meaning. Each construct created becomes a thread in your life's profound, ever tightening tapestry. Your tapestry becomes the vibration felt in the ocean filled with waves, from your most conscious thought to the deepest part of the ocean that is the mind. Most of your experience are unconsciously associated. Your awareness sits at the tip top of the mountain of varying degrees of ever evolving meaning. The bottleneck of what you can consciously be aware of is tiny. The simple lesson here is 1, two, three, too many. That's awareness. The more something doesn't change or get identified as a perceived risk, the less attention you place on it. It becomes invisible. It is tied to the limited consciousness bandwidth we have cultivated, the mind's subroutine to be efficient, and the amount of self we still work with to mine. At the core of our awareness, we become informed of breaks in the norm. A break could be a noise, a bright light, an odd touch, anything which isn't part of what we consider our default experience. Ego. Ego sits right at the center of the action. It helps navigate while it stands on top of all the other pieces of meaning that make up the mind. A loud noise while sitting on the factory floor will yield a different focus than a loud noise in a dark alley when you're walking alone. The break causes your mind to reach into your hard drive and runs a query for all scenarios reflecting the stimulus you just experienced. If you have ever walked alone down a dark, unfamiliar street at night, you know what this feels like. One such experience came when I moved my family to Florida. We lived on a golf course inside the safety of a gated community. Our beautiful home had a giant wall of glass looking out in the pool with a backdrop of trees. During the day, the sunlight bathed the room in sunshine, but at night, the wall transformed into a two-way mirror, making it impossible to see into the backyard. One night, I left my bedroom and went downstairs to lock up and set the alarm to ensure we were safely secured within our home. Like any house, it came with its own personality. This one had a peculiar squeak on the fourth step from the top. It only squeaked once you stepped on the third step, sounding as though someone is coming up from behind you. That night, while returning upstairs after locking everything up, I hit that step. Now, consciously, I knew better, but that didn't stop my mind from rushing and imagining the worst case scenario. Immediately, I loaded my construct of every horror flick into the desktop interface of my mind. Like a flashback, a teenage nostalgia and mental agitation, my mind exploded with possibilities. None good. The blueprint of the world I abruptly found myself within became dangerous. My reality construct simultaneously changed. I felt a flash of sheer terror. Suddenly, I lived out a scenario I'd watched thousands of times, which urged me to leap forward with everything in my being. I had to clear more steps than I knew I could. Snap! The result was a broken big toe that took a year to heal, and my kids got a laugh out of dad running from the boogeyman. I'm not the only person who has had this experience. Stop for a minute and remember a time when you did this to yourself. Maybe you were in a pool late at night and started to think about a movie, Jaws. To this day, I do not enter a pool at night without thinking there of the eerie movie music playing. It gives me a sudden urge to get out of the water. Is there anything that gives you a similar trigger? Notice how it feels in your body. Notice how your mind hijacks your experience such that excuse me, your entire view of reality was warped. Now ask yourself, if the mind does this in a dramatic and noticeable ways, how much is it doing without me knowing it? Tiny influences run so deep in our minds we don't realize they exist. Shadows lead us to constructs running in the background like a virus in our life. What happens when you have a virus or malware on your computer? Your shadow becomes a boogeyman. He follows you every step you make. It's then that your mind builds meaning to protect itself from itself. It consumes more energy and resources and embeds itself in every other software program, contaminating everything it touches. This throws you off balance. What happens when the meaning you're standing on is too painful for your conscious mind to process? Your mind will create space to protect you from it. The space will be intended to consciously or unconsciously. It's your choice. Our society has evolved to maintain existence in this only half life consciousness. We remain unaware of how we alter our reality, our existence, since we have yet to be taught this level of thought and awareness exists. Any attempt to dig deeper, probe, contemplate is most usually shot down, labeled as New Age woo woo or something dark or evil to be avoided, or laughed off as fantasy. However, the evolving rate of change is forcing us to evolve our understanding along with it. We're experiencing a collective awakening. It's as though we're experiencing a birthing process of a collective level. Something is forcing our hand. The sleep must awaken. Dune. If you're experiencing the collective awakening, join the party. Welcome to the party. And remember that 2025 is the year that all the planets are finding their new placements. So every single zodiac sign and every single planet are shifting into their new homes for whatever times they're going to stay there. So if you're experiencing change and evolution within yourself and around you, that's partly why I believe. Because how can we not be affected by what's happening in the universe? Holding space, a powerful spiritual practice which has emerged from within the psychedelic community, is the concept of holding space. Holding space is a profound art that requires dedication, compassion, and self awareness. If practiced over time, it develops a deep understanding of the mind, and it points us to a deep conversation of creation. The result is a grounding process. What does it mean to hold space? Holding space is letting go of the judgments that keeps you anywhere but present and in neutral state. As guides, we practice a process we term going hollow. It's about removing all judgment of where we should, must go, and finding the work as it is presented. It's about finding the center of you and aligning your energy to flow through. It's about finding a space between action and non action and waiting for what life yearns to spring through. None of that can be done from a place of judgment. For those of you embarking on the path of shadow work, being able to hold space for yourself and others makes you a powerful individual and ally. By holding space, you are creating a nurturing environment where something more is able to emerge as you embody the principles of presence, compassion, active listening, non attachment, and emotional stability. Learning to hold space will immediately impact your life and everyone around you. This space is sacred, where healing and genius can be born through the darkness. Holding space is essential to our practice of turning within because ultimately it's about understanding creation. Creation sits at the center of longing and doubt, sacrifice and resistance. Although the Buddhist calls it detachment, we focus on detachment with the sense of contribution in holding space. In the identity facet, there is an archetype of the Sacred Mother for contribution. She offers her physical body as a contribution or sacrifice to life unseen. There's not another representation of a selfless sacrifice greater than a mother. Sacrifice and doubt are the building blocks of creation. Mothers swim in doubt, and their bodies shift into contribution and into sacrifice mode for their baby. I have found it in shadow carried by mothers across all cultures. Your genius can only be born when sacrifice crosses the river of doubt. Until then, it is but a dream. Imagine taking on the energy of a sacred mother when looking at your dreams. Do you love them enough to sacrifice as a mother would for their unborn child? Shadows Works points to the realization of how we live more out of our recreation than our actual creation. Scenarios repeatedly run on every level in our mind to avoid harm we experience when we weren't equipped to know what meaning to make in a given situation. Our goal is to move away from recreations, constructs, and stories caught in cycles of delusion to be able to move in to deeper levels of awareness. Letting go of the story we're holding on to allows us the opportunity to grab a new story. Then we are able to create consciously from our genius. There is a scene in the movie Braveheart where Mel Gibson's character is on the front lines of a great battle. He possesses a tool which can deliver a lethal blow, but it must be done at the right moment. Hold, 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 he commands. Inside the critical moment is the space called Kairos time, the perfect moment. It can be very uncomfortable to wait for the lesson to appear. Kairos time sits beyond the time as a quantity, opening the present moment to its full potential. It's the heart time, not the head time. At its core, holding space creates a safe, nurturing, and non judgmental environment for someone to explore their inner landscape. The container then opens us to permit creation to come through. Without the safe space, your genius will work against you and your struggles will remain impassable barriers. Holding space creates a sacred containers and offers emotional support, security, and a compassionate presence that releases judgment. Shadow work involves confronting, integrating, and tending to repress or denied aspects of ourselves and challenging emotions, memories, and patterns. You can hold space in several ways. Looking at your reality experience, you see how your primary relationship is with yourself. So, the first space you will learn to practice holding is for yourself. Your ability to hold space for others is forever informed, controlled, and limited by the capacity, quantity, and quality of the space you can hold for yourself. Anytime you are unable to fully hold space for someone else, you will typically find an issue started with the judgment from you about you without being able to hold space for your shadows, you will find yourself unconsciously triggered by the shadows of others. The key is noticing when you are triggered and holding space within you to process the trigger, because shadow begets shadow. You unconsciously look for the outside world's influence or is poised to confirm your shadow. There is no perfection in holding space. The idea is found by letting go of the need to be perfect. The more you practice it, the more you find the gateless gate. Then you soar above the constructs of reality where you have been imprisoned and leveraged your mind to create, not consume. Your zombie hunger alleviates, and your ability to present for others takes off, all by simply developing the skill of holding space for yourself and others. How do you hold space for yourself and others? Are you loving as you hold space for yourself? Or are you being a bully to yourself and you think you're holding space for yourself? That is holding space, but not in a healthy way. We want to bring love and light into ourselves because what we think, we create our own reality. And if we're creating our own reality, we are co creating our reality together. So, my invitation to you is to ask yourself, how are you holding space for yourself? First and foremost, are you being kind to yourself when you make a mistake? Are you being loving to yourself when you feel like you want to cry? Or do you shut that down? So, if how you treat yourself is how you're going to treat others, and holding space for yourself in the most loving way will heal those around you as well. It is a ripple effect. When this old saying of you are your worst enemy is so imprinted and ingrained in so many of us, and when somebody says to be your best friend, to be your own best friend, to love yourself is something foreign, something's wrong here. Let's change that. It's time to take ourselves back and be with ourselves. Be comfortable in your own skin because this is a gift, the gift of life. Going on, we're on page 122. A realized example of holding space. I had a client who found massive space by realizing he was unconsciously living out of an asshole's identity. Permitting himself to see his identity led him to discover beneath that asshole was a little boy who felt that no one cared. At an early age, he had developed such certainty about no one caring that he had forgotten how he decided to protect that little boy by being an asshole. He built the asshole identity to keep everyone from the construct that no one cared about him. After this realization, but before he even got to the little boy, he had hold space for an asshole so that identity could be heard, integrated and tended to in order to move forward. Once he understood how internal constructs work, This client reached the little boy and showed him the caring at the heart of his yearning. Interestingly, afterwards, the client began to see love and care from everyone around him. He shifted to a deeper truth of he cares and gets to share the care with those he loves. Individually holding space bears fruits, and something amazing happens when a group comes together to hold space. It's like the collective is plugged in and something more profound comes online for over 2 decades. I have been astounded by the synchronicities and happenstance before, during, and after our gatherings. It's like catching something out of the corner of your eye for 20 years, which has been subtly and elusively stalking you. Some profound truths hides in plain sight. And remember, this is a process, not an event. Each shadow tended will take you to the door to the next deeper level for you to grow through. A mother, as mother taught me, it's all make believe, all the way down to the gaze of God. The pillars of holding space. There are certain ingredients to effectively hold space. At any time you find yourself without one of these pillars, it's safe to assume there is a shadow present, hiding some insight or opportunity to grow. Presence. Holding space begins with cultivating a state of presence, clearing your mind of distractions and fully immersing yourself in the present moment allows for a deep connection with the work. Embodying stillness and attentiveness will create a container where trust and surrender can happen. If the shadow is present, you may find it hard to be present. Notice the stories which steal your presence. Notice the stories that run in the background that steal your joy. Notice what is draining your energy. Compassion. Compassion is the cornerstone of our work. It involves actively making space for experiences and emotions as they arise, extending kindness and understanding without imposing personal judgment or opinions. A bully archetype operating in our cultures tend to come online here. That is the wrong way. We tend to bully ourselves into action, offering compassionate presence provides a haven for the seeker to explore their shadow of self without fear of rejection or shame. Letting go of any storyline that doesn't have compassion baked into it will go a long way in your healing experience. 4D listening. 4D listening goes beyond hearing words. It involves attuning to verbal and nonverbal cues. By attuning to our narrative facet, we uncover our unresolved or unaddressed needs by listening profoundly and intuitively. We can finally hear what we have been telling ourselves all along. This allows us to begin offering reassurance, guidance, or a gentle touch when and where required. The power of softness in 4D listening cannot be understood as it allows for profound insights and emotions to be seen under the confusion caused by doubt. Non attachment. Holding space requires us to release any attachment to outcomes or personal agendas. Rational thought will say, yeah, but we must see how we are attached to the construct where we are trapped. The more we practice non attachment, the more we can let go what doesn't. serve us. As a guide, we not only learn to deepen or depend on, but require to trust in the innate wisdom of the seeker, supporting them unconditionally through the highs and lows of their exploration. Look at your attachments to teach you where you are hooked or triggered, because in the end, everything dies anyway. Emotional stability. Emotional stability as a guide. Emotional stability is paramount. The guide must maintain their inner equilibrium while holding space for the seeker's emotional turbulence. Grounding practices, self care, and your own personal work is essential in cultivating this stability, allowing the guide to remain steady in the storm. If you have these three aspects of care, you will find emotional stability easier to cultivate. Holding space eternally is about to lean Holding space internally is about not leaning into meaning that doesn't present itself naturally. It's about learning to treat yourself with compassion and listen actively for what you are really saying. Only when we see what nature is calling forth through you, remember, your ability to do this work directly reflects the humaneness you allow yourself to have. We must always be poised to enact compassion for any part of us underneath the shadow of judgment. The axis mundi. The axis mundi. Your story is the subjective journey you are taking through this world. We all create a personal mythology. When you permit yourself to investigate the myth, the story, you start to understand the nature of your suffering. You see what Joseph Campbell called the monomyth repeatedly play out in numerous moments, layers and loops in your life. Before you can change anything, first you must see. Learn how you get stuck in the story and develop a muscle to break free. Then you will experience, excuse me, then you will experience the most spiritual liberating practice. The results will astound you. One of the most valuable tools to define and navigate your experience is finding your axis mundi. The term axis mundi is derived from the Latin words axis and mundi, our world together, meaning pivot point or line connecting the earth and the sky's heavens. The axis mundi was the mythical center of the universe. But what is a myth? But what a lie meant to tell the truth. In the tale you are living out of now, axis mundi is where you assume the center of your universe is circling. Remember, you are the center of your universe. Notice that everything in how you perceive the world revolves around you. The point of reference for any meaning you can make is through your eyes and first person experience. Pause for a minute and take that in. You are the center of your reality. No one can separate from your reality but you. You are also the only one who has the ability to own when you are in shadow. No one can do it for you. This is why they say an addict has to want it. It's referencing their recovery. They need to be open to seeing how they are, the axis of their problems. And because we lie to ourselves first, addicts usually blind to it. Ailey and the Oak of Eternity. In ancient Celtic lore, the tale of Ailey is a humble shepherd known for his deep connection with the land and the animals he tended. Ailey was not only a shepherd, but a seeker, constantly yearning to understand the mysteries of life and the universe. One fateful evening, under the light of the full moon, it's perfect, today's a full moon. I love little connections like that. Ellie was drawn to an ancient oak tree that stood alone in a clearing. No ordinary tree, the oak of eternity. It was said to be an earthly manifestation of the axis mundi, the cosmic axis which connects the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. Ali touched the tree and felt the surge of energy through him. His consciousness expanded. He found himself in a realm of pure light and endless possibility. He, Here he met the goddess Bridget, a keeper of wisdom and the eternal flame. Welcome, Ali, said Bridget. You stand at the axis mundi, the center of all worlds. This is not just a place outside of you, but also within you. Your own consciousness is a reflection of the cosmic axis. Ali listened intently as Bridget spoke of the interconnectedness of all things, the importance of balance, and the role each individual plays in maintaining the harmony of the universe. Remember, Ali, Bridget said, as she prepared to send him back to his earthly experience, the axis mundi is not just a cosmic pillar, it is the core of your being. You are living, you are a living conduit to the heavens and the earth. Honor this truth, and you will live a life of purpose and meaning. Ali returned to the world, forever changed. He continued his work as a shepherd, but he also became a wise elder, a healer, and a guide. People from all walks of life came to seek him for wisdom, and Ali would always lead them to the oak of eternity, reminding them how the axis mundi is not just a point in space, but a dimension of a human spirit. Turning within is about consciously cultivating life through your axis mundi. This lost teaching is a collective lesson we all must understand. We won't be able to continue unconsciously live out the loops of yesterday that don't deserve us. I need to mark this part down. It's page 126. To live out of our axis mundi, to live out of our center. This is why grounding practices are very important. Calling yourself back is very important. Remembering who you are. Why are you here? How do you want to share your energy? How do you want to project your best self? Constructs intervention. Loading up a scenario is like allowing your storyline to do what every good story is meant to do. Transport you into a tale through narrative transportation. We humans are wired for it. It's our number one pastime. We are swept away by the stories we tell ourselves. Suffering doesn't sit in the data, it sits in the story. Every moment or situation is like Schrodinger's cat. It is both neither good or bad. We lock into a perspective based on the story engine and the fuel it runs on. Now, this story engine continuously runs. Your construct informs the meaning you operate out of. The seven facets of your constructs inform, influence, construct, and cultivate every experience you have. The problem is your awareness, your unawareness to the definition and understanding of the construct. What happens when you want to avoid experience through a construct you have built? You resist. Shadow is projected onto your life. Imagine wearing an advanced AI driven Apple Vision Pro and forgetting you're wearing it and say, "Hello, shadow," to your shadow. Let's examine this further. Maybe you're angry with your partner because you don't feel supported. Instead of tending to the identity, feeling unsupported in you, you resist going off, igniting your feelings and suppress your anger. However, your partner knows. They sense you are off. Challenging the challenge is the translation. See, you are floating down the river of the story called you. But the story you tell yourself and the story your partner tells themselves isn't the same. Never has been, never will be, and never can be. Your partner is unaware of suffering you are experiencing. The system called you interprets all actions through the layers of stories you have chosen to represent your reality. Any stories rooted in suffering or survival rooted programming left unattended in your deep conscious are projected as shadows onto the 3D world. Shadow begets shadow, just like some liberated as the potential to release others. Shadowy behavior tends to bring shadow out in others. This is the cause and very foundation of shadow boxing and shadow dancing. When we operate from our unconscious, we default to interpreting shadow behavior through our own shadow. Your partner reads what can only look like odd behavior to them. Now, their risk manager comes online. Let's say they have a wound that casts a shadow about how they are always wrong. Now, the two of you are set up individually and collectively for several rounds of shadow boxing. A person doesn't feel supported, so they blame their partner. In turn, their partner then gets triggered in their "I'm consistently wrong" shadow. As a result, they may withdraw. Now, because they reduced offering interaction, they trigger their partner's non-supportive shadow, and around they go. What vicious cycle are you caught up in? It always starts with us. Starts with us. Change begins within. Remember, your suffering is sacred. If you learn how to make friends with it, to hold space for it, you will unlock the keys to your universe. You'll finally find your sacred center. If you attend to your suffering and stop projecting your pain long enough to investigate it, you will find relief and the keys to authentic change. Let's look at some of your sufferings to see what it may teach you about the nature of your mind. Let's load it up. Where in your life are you currently suffering? It could be resistance to show up as your authentic self. It may be some part of your life that's stuck. Stay curious and let's review your suffering from a different and almost scientist or explorer like identity. What's the story you tell yourself that steals your joy? We've concluded chapter 9, and at the end of chapter 9, he has created his own diagram of a construct of what he believes is like identity, plot, story, belief, emotion, decision, and action is in the middle. And I'm sure this has been um, revised because he is the master of change. So I'm sure the verbiage has similarly changed. So this is, are these, you have to like check your decisions, check in with your identity. Who are you showing up as? What emotions are coming through? Is that the emotion you want to be feeling, or is it just a default emotion? Because that happens. Beliefs. Are you stuck on a belief that's no longer serving you, but you really can't see it because it feels really true to you because you believed it for so long? You know, one of those. Oh my gosh. Breaking old belief patterns has been liberating for me. What else? Story. What is the story you're telling yourself? How are you telling your story? And what's the plot? I'm going to conclude with chapter 9. We're going to begin with chapter 10 another day. But looking into this construct and talking a little bit more about shadows and plot and stories, I'd like to share a little bit about how I changed my story. I'm not rewriting history or anything like that. I don't want people to think, oh, you're just delusional. Maybe a little bit. Sometimes that's good. Imagine if you have a wild imagination, work it. Your imagination is a gift. So, is your imagination running wild? Check your imagination. It all comes through. Going back to telling my story, it was coming from a place of victimhood for a very long time without me realizing it. And because of that energy that was coming through me as a victim, because of everything that I've been through, and learning how to empower my story instead of coming through as woe is me. Sure, I went through a lot. I'm not in that anymore. I'm here and I get to share my story. I get to live another day. And I have survived days that I didn't think I would survive. So, to speak through that victorious energy instead of coming through in the victim mode where I was a victim of many things. And it was difficult. I was alone in many of those tragedies that I had to live through. I survived it. I'm now able to let go of that victim mentality more. It's still there because so much has happened. Empower my story. I want to empower myself because I did survive so much most people probably wouldn't. And that's something that I don't like to say often, but I have survived a lot of things. And instead of feeling sorry for myself that I've gone through those things, I want to feel more empowered. I am a survivor. I am here recovering myself from those things. And I'm grateful to have survived those things that I have gone through in life. So there's my work. My work is recovery, recovering myself from the things that tried to take life from me, that did take pieces of me, unfortunately. I'm not going to be the same. You know, things that have changed the trajectory of your life, that have, what does it say? Throw me off course, right? Okay, I wasn't meant to go down that way. I'm meant to go down this way. Instead of feeling bad about not being in the old position that I thought I was going to be in, okay? Change is happening whether I like it or not. Change is going to continue to happen. And if I can take more control over what happens in my life with how I feel about it, with how I think about it, as simple as that is making a conscious decision to be okay with what I don't want happening to survive and empower myself through that. Okay, here's another experience we got just added to our things that we've experienced. And now, how do I want to share that story? You know, instead of a woe is me kind of energy, right? Because that's just going to perpetuate more situations that give us that kind of storyline. You understand? I'm starting to understand. I am starting to understand the power of story, the power of words, the power of self acceptance and accepting the things that happen, regardless of what is happening. It's up to me to create a story out of it because I can create whatever version I like, right? And if I was stuck on just awfulizing things and catastrophizing things, making things catastrophic, I was really good at that. I was. And I'm also really good at dreaming and quantum leaping. I was really good. So, which way do you want to go? What energy do you want to bring into your life, even though it's coming at us in that same perspective? We can also think of whatever's happening outside of us in a different way, big time. And that has been a monumental work for me, and it's become foundational, especially when I find myself trapped in belief patterns of I'm stuck here and no one's coming to help me. That's just lies. I'm here for me. I can help myself instead of getting stuck in a helpless pattern, a not good enough pattern, because you are good enough. You're here. You're already here, right? You're here. That means in and of itself that you are a living, breathing miracle already. You don't have to do anything but wake up, and you're a miracle today. Okay? Remember that. Remember the moment that you wake up is a miracle. Don't forget that. Don't forget your divinity and your purpose. And if anything, for anyone out there struggling, if you wake up and you manage to take your breath and you have your eyes open, that's a miracle. That's it. And if you can spend the day caring for yourself and breathing, that's it. Okay? If you want to do more than that, even better for you. Make sure it's for you first. Especially for my caregivers out there. Make sure you take time for you. Okay? Because caregiving, in the word caregiving, it's supposed to be caring, right? But there is a depletion that can come with it. So make sure you are all taking good care of yourself. Bring it back to you. How do you want to feel in a world that is so demanding? It's has a lot of us living in survival, right? But when we can think about and put things into perspective, a lot of us have it a lot better than we give ourselves credit for. And that's where gratitude comes into play. Having just the basic necessities, I am so grateful for, because there are people that have less. And I find myself feeling guilt oftentimes because I have so much. I have my basics. And I can go get some water from the sink and flush my toilet easily. And I think a lot of us have taken that for granted. Um, and not to think small. This isn't to shrink back or think small at any, no, it's not. It's to show gratitude. Showing gratitude for what I already have. Being grateful for the things that I have right now. Because I am a firm believer that the universe will only bless me with what I can handle. And right now, I feel like we're all getting tested with what we can handle and what we deserve from the universe. And I think the universe has a lot to offer, and the universe is vast and expansive, and it's at our fingertips. The vastness and the power of the universe. So, because of that, this is my offering to the universe. I offer the universe a bit of my time and a moment of reading one of my favorite healing books so that maybe a little bit goes out into the universe in a healing way, because that's how I want to offer this time. I've been on here for an hour and 16 minutes because that's what I feel called to do. I feel called to share just a moment of some of my healing and my healing journey with the universe, um, because I want to give back to the universe, because the universe has been so good to me in so many ways by presenting angels to me, people, places, and things that have lifted me up in ways that I can't even explain. So, thank you, universe, for always having my back and coming in and saving my ass at the nick of time, a lot of the times. And thank you for keeping me safe for most part. Okay. Um, so this is my offering to the universe because the universe has been good to me. Even, regardless of what has happened. So changing my story. That's part of changing my narrative and my story, because I can sit here and be mad at God and be mad at the universe, but that's not the energy I want to harness, and that's not the energy I want to cultivate. I want to cultivate peace. I want to cultivate joy. At the very least, cultivate more love, um, and let go of the bitterness of what life has thrown at me, letting go of the bitterness of the demands and the grind that life can be at times. I needed a breath for that one because life is challenging. It is. Some would say survival of the fittest, you know? Um, so how's your life going? How is your life where you want it to be right now? I'm getting there. I have accomplished a lot of things that I didn't think I would accomplish. And at the same time, I'm in a position where I didn't think I would be in right now. I'm unemployed. I am. And it's different. I left the corporate world. I did. And it's been so hard for me to get back into the corporate world. I thought I'd be at the top, tippity top. I was climbing the corporate ladder, and it burned me out. I was climbing the corporate ladder, single mom of two, doing it all. And I had some tragedies, and that really threw me off. And I haven't been back. I haven't been back in the corporate world full time. I've been back part time, and wow. For all of my corporate world baddies, stay strong and be nice. Be nice. Some of you are just some bullies out there. It's not nice. Be nice, please. So, because of that, I went back to school for human resources because I wanted to be at the end of the line. With my experience, I want to be able to be in a position where I can help others. And going back to school for human resources in the corporate realm, I thought I could be useful and make an impact. So I am still looking for a human resources position, to earn money. But my primary gig is energy healing, consulting, and guiding others, because that's where my heart is. My heart is always to serve others. My heart has always been in a place of serving and helping others in any capacity that I can. So I went back to school just in case I went back to the corporate world for whatever length of time, whatever the universe has planned for me. I wanted to make sure I had whatever I needed to jump whatever timelines. So that's what I'm here for. I am here to do my best, and I am here to help others. Rewrite your story, help you recreate your narrative of the story you might be trapped in if you find yourself triggered with something and it's causing a lot of distress and negative emotions. What's the root of it? Have you felt it before? When was the first time you felt it? These are questions to ask yourself when you're in this. And how can you see this situation differently if you were on the outside of it? If you were a friend consulting yourself, how can you see this differently? How can you flip the script, right? Because sometimes we get dragged into somebody else's narrative, into somebody else's story, and it may not be good for us, but it may be good for us to get out of that story. And sometimes it takes a little longer to see it, to recognize it, and then to find your plan out. So make sure you're not the one trapping yourself in these shadows, right? Or trapping yourself in other people's shadows, which I was so prone. I was so prone to do that because of the people pleaser that I was. Hence, keyword was. I would lose myself with other people and forget who I was or what I wanted when I was around other people. One example is with alcohol. I don't drink anymore. However, when I was around certain people and they wanted to drink and they knew that I wasn't practicing that, with pressure or with guilt. And alcohol is such a socially acceptable thing, but it wasn't good for me. So why did I continue to surround myself with people who drank? And then these people that did drink didn't respect my boundaries because they wanted an accomplice. They wanted company in their shadow. Now I'm strong enough to say, you know what, friend? That's not very friendly of you or loving for you to continue to influence me into something you know that I am not wanting to do anymore, right? That was very hard for me to do. Letting go of someone that continually tempt me. I felt that they were very lonely, and apparently I was the only one that would actually like give in. I'm like, why am I giving in? I'm leaving myself behind here. So, standing up for myself and saying no and not being around those who bring me down because they were bringing me down in ways that I couldn't see at first. So, being able to say no and to let go of people, places, and things that did bring me down was hard. And now that I've gotten through those hard bits, life has been more peaceful. I don't have people calling or texting me, hey, you want to go drink? Because they know I do not drink alcohol anymore. Sure, I partied my ass off way back then. And if I knew what I know now, I wouldn't have ever drank alcohol. I had a lot of bad experiences on alcohol. So, and when I have a so called friend calling me and text me, hey, you want to go drink? Knowing damn well I don't drink, you're not my friend. Oh, I forgot. No, you didn't. And then why are you still drinking? Didn't you just get a divorce because of alcohol? You know, like haven't you lost enough because of alcohol? Why continue to engage in a behavior that is detrimental to your health? Because alcohol is horrible for your body. Alcohol is horrible for your brain. So why engage in that? Because it's everywhere. Because it was socially accepted. I'm not part of that group no more. And if you know me and you know that I don't drink alcohol and you know that I've had my problems with alcohol, because if you know me, you've known I've had my issues with it. And I've been through AA. Yes, I say, hi, my name is Yanira. I am an alcoholic. I am a recovering alcoholic. I admit it. I'm okay with it. I own it. So please respect that, right? Like, how can you not respect that or honor that? I wasn't. I wasn't even respecting my own boundaries. That's why I was around other people that didn't even have boundaries either. When I saw that, I had to let that go too. If they couldn't, and I would make an excuse like, oh, I'm with them, so I can do this and that. I had to take ownership for that too. Why was I around people that had no boundaries, had no goals? And I am a very ambitious person. So now that I can see how I was acting or even using some of these people as a way to, be irresponsible and not feel like I can take full responsibility because I'm doing with someone else was bull crap. The lies I tell myself. Baloney. So now I am looking for friends that hold their boundaries, that express their boundaries, because I think that is healthy. Hey, if you don't want to drink alcohol, oh, great. Good for you. That's better for you. Um, you don't want to smoke pot? Oh, good. Okay. I'm not going to force it on you. Um, just to have basic consideration. It's it's hard to find out here lately. Um, Yeah. No more booze ever. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate your attention here with me. I appreciate the time you spent here with me today. It is a full moon, so make sure you make your wish. If you're feeling extra energy, that is why. Um, Today is a good day to express your truth. Today is a good day to live out your truth. Today is a good day to let go of anything that doesn't serve you. Okay? And may the universe smile on you today. May the universe bless you with all the gifts and happiness you've deserved and earned. And may the universe keep you safe today. Just for today. Just for today, don't get angry. Okay? Mind your anger. Mind your emotions. Just for today, remember yourself. Remember who you are and who you want to be in this world. Remember,